On the day of the business deal that cost $40 million, Gina Manning, the boss, stood motionless, unable to answer questions from the client. Then, the former manager, Walters, stood up with a smirk. "Excuse me, everyone." It seems she had completely forgotten about the mishaps of the previous contract. At that moment, I finally understood everything. Manager Walters had deliberately failed to properly hand over responsibilities to Gina. Not informing her of past incidents, ensuring she would fail. Unable to watch her struggle any longer, I stood up decisively and climbed onto the stage next to Gina. I then began to explain fluently using a different set of documents. Manager Walters would have to pay for the situation he caused. My name is Nathan Baker. I am 42 years old and work in sales. I am employed at S Engineering, a company that handles the manufacturing and installation of machinery-related equipment, but my responsibilities are very simple. This is because Walters, my direct manager, has declared me incompetent and does not assign me significant tasks. As a result, I am stuck doing simple paperwork and copying documents, forever feeling like a perpetual newbie. Sometimes, Manager Walters even sends me to buy his coffee from the convenience store. A task clearly not work-related but driven by personal errands, yet other employees, fearing his anger, remain silent about my treatment. I have always wanted a job that offers more satisfaction, but I've never been able to assert myself. Since childhood, I've been too timid to speak up against others. Especially tormented by a classmate named Tom from elementary through middle school. Tom used to bully me, calling me a weakling soybean sprout, and laughing joyously. I wasn't the outgoing type and lacked confidence in my physical strength. Instead of playing with the boys during recess, I would read books or write novels alone. Then, Tom would snatch the notebook I was writing in and mock me mercilessly. "Ugh. Even though you're a guy, you write stories about girls. You're really creepy. Give it back." I don't think it's weird. I reached out desperately, but Tom just fluttered the notebook and scoffed. "No, it's weird. Because while all the boys are playing soccer or dodgeball, you're the only one sitting in the classroom writing lousy novels. Stop it. Give it back." This was how Tom continually harassed and bullied me. I never wanted to be around him. But we ended up in the same class in the third year of middle school. At that point, I was already distraught. Then, during a school festival, Tom recommended me for the main role in a play as part of his harassment. I think Nathan would be perfect for the role of the main character, Aladdin. He's always reading novels, so he'll surely play it wonderfully. I hated standing out, so I was genuinely shocked and tried to decline. But everyone agreed, and I reluctantly ended up playing Aladdin in Aladdin and the Magic Lamp. The girl playing the princess wanted a more impressive partner and ended up crying. I felt so shocked that I wanted to cry myself, but the play was a success, and our class received thunderous applause. However, I detested being the center of attention so much that I wished I could disappear from the stage. Afterward, everyone went to the hamburger shop to celebrate. But I went home alone and curled up in my bed. That's why I still can't stand up for myself today, and I flinch at any criticism. Even when my boss makes unreasonable demands, I can't say anything and just continue working, thinking my life will remain dull. One day, a woman transferred from a regional office to our headquarters. Her name is Gina Manning, and she was assigned to my department. She was a tall, fair-skinned beauty with striking facial features. Manager Walters was to be replaced, and I worried if she would be another tough character to deal with. However, Gina treated me kindly. "Nathan, could you please handle this document preparation?" Me. "Are you sure I should handle document preparation?" When Manager Walters was in charge, I was never tasked with such substantial responsibilities, so I exclaimed in surprise. Gina tilted her head slightly and said, "Yes, everyone else said they were too busy. It's not because I thought you were idle, so please don't feel bad. No, I'll do it. If I'm suitable, I'd be happy to help." Gina's trust in assigning me work made me genuinely happy. Having only ever been stuck with menial tasks, I poured all my energy into preparing the documents. The result was a clean, easy to understand set of documents. Ms. Manning, I've completed it. Is this all right? Thank you. Oh, it looks very nice. It's so well organized and easy to understand. Nathan, you're really good at preparing documents. As I nervously handed over the documents, Gina beamed at me and praised my work. Yes, I actually like doing this. I'll count on you again. Being praised for my work, I felt elated all day. Since then, I've been a bit interested in Gina. Having graduated from a prestigious university in Boston and studied abroad in the UK, she had an intellectual aura. She was also beautiful and single, attracting many male colleagues who aspired to have someone like her as a wife. During break times, male colleagues would invite her out to lunch one after another. However, she always politely declined and continued working at her desk, eating a sandwich from the store. I, too, being a store sandwich type, felt a sense of connection with Gina, which made me quite happy. Gina was kind to the other female employees, but they didn't seem to reciprocate the sentiment. They spoke of her as if she was condescending because of her elite status. I never felt that way, so perhaps it was out of jealousy that they spoke. Gina was attractive and well-educated, probably making her standards seem insurmountably high to others. Yet, other female employees, many of whom were married or had children, gossiped behind her back, suggesting she couldn't understand because she was single. I thought it was none of their business whether she was married or had children. People have their own lives to live. Still, the other employees commented that one isn't truly adult until they're married with children, which I found to be an intrusive view. If I were a woman, I couldn't bear being told that by my peers. However, Gina never showed anger or sadness, always responding with a smile. One day, she approached me. Next week's business meeting with a client, could you come along? Me. Though there were other employees, I was puzzled that Gina had asked me directly. Yes, I thought it would be good for you to learn. Since the previous manager, Walters, was involved in the negotiations, and you helped with document organization, I thought you should be there. Manager Walters had been involved in the project, indeed, but I had only been ordered to file documents as a menial task. However, Gina seemed to interpret that I had been entrusted with document organization because Manager Walters trusted me. If that's the case, I'll participate. May I take the documents that Manager Walters handed over? As I offered, Gina's expression suddenly darkened. That's the problem. I was told the handover was already done, and he can't give them to me. Rather, Manager Walters no longer has them. What? So Ms. Manning, you haven't reviewed the documents? To my surprise, Manager Walters had not handed over any documents related to the project. Despite Gina's requests, he insisted he had already done so. In fact, no files or contracts related to the transaction had been passed to her. That's unfortunate. I checked many times if I had misplaced them, but there was no fact of the handover. That's why I was completely troubled. I thought it would be reassuring to have you who had worked closely with Mr. Walters by my side. Gina frowned in confusion. Seeing her bewildered expression, I sighed internally. It was likely harassment from Manager Walters. As a sales director, Manager Walters probably felt slighted by having his role taken by Gina. In fact, during the few days before Manager Walters transferred out, he lashed out at everyone in the department, including myself. It's unbecoming of a company employee. But Manager Walters likely left the handover incomplete on purpose, especially since the deal I was accompanying had some issues. No doubt, he threw Gina into this situation without any background information, aiming to make her fail. My resentment towards Manager Walters, who still plagued the sales department even after leaving, deepened. Understood. Then I will go. I'm just an incompetent employee, so I'm not sure how much help I can be. Don't say such things about yourself. Regardless of position, you are working hard. Your efforts will surely be rewarded. Gina assured me earnestly, warming my heart. Understood. I'll do my best. Please take me with you. Thank you. Then, I'm counting on you. Gina's smile bloomed like a flower, and I nodded with determination. Since being asked to accompany her, I had searched through all related documents left in the document room. Because Manager Walters always tasked me with organizing documents, I knew exactly where everything was. I created a document highlighting the particularly important parts and passed it to Gina. Thanks to this, we managed to prepare for the consultation until late last night. On the day of the negotiation, Gina thanked me. All this was possible because of you. Thank you. No, this is the fruit of your efforts, Ms. Manning. Let's do our best with the presentation. We psyched ourselves up and headed to the meeting room, where the business partners awaited. My company, Sakau Engineering, contracts to manufacture and install equipment related to machinery. And we were hoping to secure a contract to produce machine parts for the other company. Given that today's negotiation involved $40 million, it was crucial to succeed. For this reason, several senior executives from our side had also attended. And, strangely enough, Manager Walters was there too. With a puzzled mind, I started the meeting. Gina took the stage with the documents we had prepared together and began presenting smoothly. However, just 10 minutes into what seemed like a successful negotiation, the proceedings were halted. The employees from the other company began whispering among themselves. And then one of them raised their hand significantly. Before we continue with this discussion, please explain the previous transaction. Previous transaction? Gina furrowed her brows in confusion and looked at me. I was also hearing about any issues with the previous transaction for the first time, and tried to ask other employees. Meanwhile, Manager Walters was grinning eerily. What's the matter? Please answer the question quickly. Realizing I had been set up, all eyes in the room turned to Gina. We had requested an earlier delivery date, but it ended up being delayed by about 6 months. Moreover, the performance did not meet the promises initially made. How do you intend to address this? According to the other company, Manager Walters had overseen the project, which involved manufacturing and installing the machinery. However, the equipment installed by the deadline was far below the agreed-upon specifications. The manufacturing speed and precision were significantly lower than ordered, and there was a storm of complaints from the site. Despite these complaints, Manager Walters did nothing and left the department, leaving everything to his successor without any proper handover. In reality, Manager Walters left the department without properly handing over any responsibilities to Gina. As a result, no measures were taken to address the issues from the previous transaction before entering into the new $40 million deal this time. That's, Gina, her eyes teary, frantically flipped through her documents. But of course, she had not prepared for the previous case. Her pale skin turned even paler. Manager Walters, apparently satisfied with her discomfort, started to speak. Excuse me, everyone. It seems she had completely forgotten about the mishaps of the previous contract. Suddenly, the senior executives began to murmur, and some glared sternly at Gina, caught off guard by the unexpected questioning about an unknown project. And the harsh stares from the higher-ups, Gina nearly panicked. Manager Walters, seeming pleased, crossed his arms and leaned back. At that moment, I fully understood everything. Manager Walters had not only deliberately failed to hand over this deal, but also hadn't informed her about the past issues to ensure her failure. He probably orchestrated this to sabotage Gina's future, and possibly reclaim his position as head of the sales department. But I wasn't going to let things go his way. Gina was an excellent boss, diligent and considerate to her subordinates. I couldn't stand to watch her in trouble any longer. With determination, I stood up, joined her on stage, and began to explain using another set of documents. Thank you for your business previously. Regarding the equipment in question, we have since performed repairs to the best of our abilities, ensuring it operates without causing any significant issues to your operations. But what about the delivery time? We cannot confidently contract with a company that cannot meet deadlines. The client raised his voice in frustration, but I remained calm and continued. The initial contract set an impossible deadline from the start. We had requested necessary cooperation from our headquarters to meet that deadline. But unfortunately, that cooperation was not forthcoming, leading to the delays. The responsibility for accepting such an unreasonable contract lay with Manager Walters. I glanced at him. He was nervously tapping his foot and sweating profusely as he glared back at me. Ignoring Manager Walters' displeased look, I presented a new document. Here is the contract from last time. Why do you have that? Manager Walters' groan was audible. I had found the details of the previous contract while preparing the presentation materials. Although the documents were extensive, I brought them, thinking they might be useful. And it turned out to be the right move. Indeed, we did not meet the conditions written here, but the delay in delivery is a fact. Do you know how much damage that caused our company? As I mentioned earlier, after the delivery, we did everything possible to repair it. As a result, you are still using that equipment, so there should be no operational issues. The representatives from the other company began discussing again, with one calling the site to confirm my claims. However, we should be compensated for the disruptions caused by the delivery delay, right? We had specified performance values in the specifications at the time of the request, which were not met. We would like an apology and compensation for that. As for that, the specifications were reference values, not performance guarantees, as stated in this document. Furthermore, as I've already mentioned, the delay was due to the lack of cooperation from your side. And the repairs we've made have ensured no operational issues or damages. As I confidently showed the contract while responding. The other side was busy checking back with their company and consulting among themselves. However, the fact remains that there was a delay. We sincerely apologize for that. Going forward, we will take care to avoid setting impossible deadlines. While saying this, I glanced at Manager Walters, who was turning pale while furrowing his brow at me. The fact that Manager Walters was responsible for the previous contract was clearly written in the contract I had shown. Therefore, the senior executives were now sending suspicious glances his way. And though it's presumptuous of me to ask, should any unforeseen troubles like this arise, our company will respond immediately. I hope you understand that, as with last time, we will do everything we can to make repairs and prevent any disadvantage to our partners. I nodded as I concluded the presentation. When I looked up again, I was met with a face full of trust from our client. Upon confirmation with our headquarters, everything you said was correct. We also had some missteps, and the lack of coordination with your company caused some trouble. But we are grateful for how splendidly you handled it. The proceedings then went smoothly, and Gina conducted the crucial part of today's presentation. Thus, we successfully sealed the $40 million deal. After the negotiation, Gina relaxed her expression with relief. Thank you so much for today. The negotiation was successful because of you, Nathan. But how were you so proficient? Who exactly are you? That is. As I was about to answer, Manager Walters approached us with heavy breaths. What's the meaning of today's discussion? Why is the incompetent Nathan even participating in the negotiation? You should worry about your own career advancement rather than mine. As I calmly pointed behind him, Manager Walters turned around with a what? And saw the senior executives looking sternly at him. What's this about the previous contract? You agreed to an obviously impossible deadline. And the content of the contract was unnatural. No, that was a minor misunderstanding. Manager Walters quickly shrank back, struggling with his excuses. A stark contrast to his previous arrogance towards me. Whether it was a misunderstanding or not, we were nearly at risk of losing a $40 million deal. Do you realize how much damage that would have caused our company? Thank Nathan for wrapping it up neatly. Forced to thank me, whom he had always mocked. Manager Walters reluctantly thanked me, though the seniors didn't let up. There have been doubts about your work attitude for some time now. We will decide on your punishment after an internal investigation. Just wait quietly for your discipline. No, wait. I haven't done anything. As the senior executives quickly walked away, Manager Walters chased after them, half crying and desperately trying to justify himself. But given his past actions, he was likely to face severe punishment. Watching the noisy group leave, Gina turned to face me again. Nathan, you are truly exceptional. You said you were just an incompetent employee, but I don't think so at all. Oh no, that's an exaggeration. I'm just a regular employee, someone who handles documents. No matter how much I denied it, Gina looked at me earnestly. First of all, why did you bring the previous contract? If it weren't for that, this negotiation might have fallen through, right? It's important to strictly adhere to contractual bases in business interactions. Contracts serve as evidence, so it's desirable to state the specific and clear content. And make it explicit with consent, such as stamping. As I fluidly responded, Gina's eyes widened even more. Be honest. Are you actually quite elite? You're quick-witted and your arguments are logical and persuasive. Do you have some kind of qualification? That is. Looking into Gina's eyes, I felt it was futile to hide any longer and finally revealed my background. I actually have a law degree. What? Were you a lawyer? That explains why you know so much about contracts. Did you go to law school too? Upon hearing my response, Gina's beautiful eyes widened in surprise. No, I passed the national exam but never practiced as a lawyer. Why would you say you're just a regular employee? You're very talented. Thank you for helping earlier. I was about to panic. Gina repeated her thanks several times. I had kept my lawyer qualification hidden at the company, although I had included it in my resume when joining. Only HR and top executives at our large corporation knew about my educational background and qualifications. Manager Walters and my colleagues probably thought of me as just another useless employee. I was always teased by my classmates because the only thing I was good at was studying. I actually wrote novels, but they called it creepy. Nathan, you have so many talents. That's incredible, truly incredible. Gina kept praising me, but I am not such a distinguished person. I obtained my law degree because I wanted to help people find happiness. But then, a tragic event occurred. The mentor who guided me was brutally attacked due to a grudge related to a case he was involved in. I witnessed this horrific scene, and he eventually passed away, which led me to question the profession of law. I hated the idea that trying to help could lead to being despised and retaliated against like this. So, I decided not to become a lawyer but to live as an ordinary salaryman instead. I never liked standing out. So the life of an ordinary employee seemed to suit me more than I thought. During interviews, I was often questioned why I wanted to be a salaryman despite having a law degree. However, I just wanted to live peacefully as an ordinary salaryman. I ended up saying non-committal things and got hired, and that brings us to today. Initially, I was enthusiastic about my work, but as I grew older, I was told not to overdo it because it was bothersome if only one person tried hard. Most of the new graduates are from four-year universities. And I hadn't been active as a law trainee after university due to my age. So I was treated as if I was useless. As a result, I was deemed incompetent by Manager Walters and assigned boring tasks. But I was thinking, let it be. I admired meaningful work, but I hated being in a tight spot and standing out. I just worked as an employee, trying not to take on any responsibilities. But this time was different. I couldn't overlook Gina in trouble. I wanted to help her because she had always looked after me since her arrival. I thought maybe this time I could be of some support to her. When I opened up to Gina about my past, she listened to me with tears in her eyes until the end, which made me feel somewhat happy that someone would cry for me. Nathan, you are a sensitive and kind-hearted person. You're too kind, which is why you couldn't become a lawyer. Because you couldn't bear the harshness, she said. Her unexpectedly kind words made me blink. But I don't think that's something to be ashamed of. It just shows how pure your heart is. Gina added, and patted my back. After that, the negotiations went smoothly. In meetings with clients, I confirmed the content with them and created amendments on the spot. Having a law degree helped, and by the end of the meeting, the contract draft was complete. The other party placed full trust in me for a speedy and accurate transaction. Thus, under Gina's leadership, the sales department continued to improve its performance. Later, a demotion notice for Manager Walters was issued, and at the same time, a transfer order came through, moving him to the document processing department. As the name suggests, this is a well-known sidelining department within the company, virtually equivalent to a dismissal. Initially, Manager Walters showed some stubbornness, trying to get back on the promotion track. However, since everyone knew about the incident that nearly ruined a $40 million deal, he was distanced by everyone, without work and isolated from others. It took only 2 months for Manager Walters' spirit to break. He submitted his resignation and left the company voluntarily. He later got re-employed at a subcontractor of our company, but caused problems there too. Unable to forget the glory days when he was a high-ranking executive in a major corporation, he continued to behave rudely towards his new superiors. Eventually, unable to fit in, he resigned again and kept switching jobs. But as his reputation spread in the industry, he could no longer be employed as a staff member. Now, he earns his living through day labor, such as road construction. A colleague mentioned seeing him looking utterly downtrodden while working, a far cry from his former arrogant demeanor. As for me, I continue to work with Gina. The only difference is that Gina's surname has changed to Gina Baker. Afterward, I took the plunge and expressed my feelings to her. When I told her that I had liked her since we first met, she looked surprised at first but then smiled gently and nodded. I've always liked you too, Nathan. I didn't go out for lunch and just had it at my desk because I wanted to be with you. Is that so? It turns out Gina and I had mutual feelings. Thus, we got married. At work, we still use the name Manning due to work reasons. But at home, we enjoy a happy newlywed life. Meeting Gina was the luckiest thing in my life. Without her, I would still be working quietly as a plain and ordinary employee. I believe that together, we can face life's challenges, supporting and encouraging each other. With that thought, I hold her hand, and she firmly grips mine back.